welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'd like to talk to you about water glassing eggs. Now, water glassing is not necessarily a method of canning, but it is a method of storing fresh raw eggs on your shelf at room temperature for up to 2 years. I've been successfully and personally water glassing eggs for well over 4 years now in our home and for my family. I'd like to share the method with you, the ingredients, and how to do it in this video. Now, I know water glassing might be something new that you're just now hearing about, and I just want to tell you that water glassing is a historically documented way of safely preserving raw eggs that's been around for hundreds of years. Before there was electricity and refrigeration, this is how people stored eggs to use through the winter when their hens stopped laying due to the short days of winter and the cold temperatures. So come along with me and I'll show you what I do to water glass eggs.
Alright, so how clean do your eggs need to be? These eggs were just brought in from our coop today, and as you can see, they're just absolutely clean and in pristine shape. There's no soil on it, there's no doo-doo on it. These are just perfect for water glassing. Now, we have rollaway boxes my husband designed and built so that when the chickens lay the eggs and they stand up, the egg rolls down this little ramp away from the chicken immediately and goes into this holding area. And so we do have a little advantage there, but we decided that water glassing was so important in our life that we actually built special boxes just to keep the eggs clean. But I know that everybody doesn't have that opportunity, and so working with regular nesting boxes is fine. We do have regular nesting boxes also, and I'll show you a couple of different levels of egg soil. So this egg, as you can see, does have a little bit of soil on it. Now, it doesn't have any chicken droppings on it. No other eggs have busted near it and gotten yolk that's dried on the shell, but there is a little bit of soil on here, and it appears to mostly be dry type soil. So what you can do in this situation is you can take a napkin, a dry napkin or paper towel, or even a clean cloth, and just wipe that soil off, wipe that stuff off. Now, you don't want to really scrub this hard because you don't want to hurt that bloom, but that egg now is going to be acceptable for water glassing. You can still see that there's just a little bit of traces of soiled stuff on it, but it's not bad. This is acceptable for water glassing, okay? A little tiny margin of imperfection as far as the cleanliness is concerned is okay. This is okay to use for water glassing. Now, I want to show you one that is absolutely not acceptable for water glassing in any way, shape, or form. We had some wet, rainy, icky days, and we had some eggs that looked like this. Okay, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just the nature of the beast. This egg is filthy, and there is no way, even if I went and tried to wipe some of this stuff off of here, this egg is just far, far too dirty. So sadly, this egg cannot be used for water glassing. But just like store-bought eggs, I have a method for eggs like this too. I will wash this egg, and then I have a method of preserving these on the shelf too, which I will share with you later. But this egg is unusable for water glassing. So that's the different levels of eggs. And we will come back in the next step and tell you what you need as far as ingredients are concerned and how to actually preserve these eggs by water glassing. We'll be right back. Alright, so we're back again. Now that we know how clean our eggs need to be without washing them in order to water glass them, I'll share the directions on how to actually do this. Water glassing your eggs simply requires a simple mixture of water and lime. There are a couple of different types of lime, and this is very, very crucial for you to know. There is lime that you can buy at your farm and home stores. That's called calcium carbonate. It's also known as barn lime or crushed lime. It is insoluble in water, and you cannot use it with water glassing. Okay, remember that name, calcium carbonate. It's a no. Barn lime is a no. You cannot use this for water glassing your eggs. The type of lime that you can use is calcium hydroxide. It's also known as pickling lime, slacked lime, or hydrated lime. This is the proper type of lime to use for water glassing. Now, you can find calcium hydroxide in your grocery store as pickling lime. Okay, I've got a Mrs. Wage here, pickling lime. And you can see on the back, right down in the ingredients, you can see that it is calcium hydroxide. It's the only ingredient. So you can use pickling lime. You can also find the slacked lime, calcium hydroxide, in your construction type stores, your lumber yards. That type of lime is also used in masonry. And so realistically, you can go and buy a 50-pound bag of this calcium hydroxide or hydrated lime. You can find 50-pound bags of that in your lumber yards for approximately $11 or $12. I don't know what the current price is, but they come in 50-pound bags, and that is an extremely large amount of lime. So unless you know that you're going to be water glassing large amounts of eggs for years and years and years, that's a lot of lime to go through. So I just use the little Mrs. Wage pickling lime bags. And this bag, I can't even tell you how long a bag lasts me. I've probably water glassed over 1,000 eggs, I would think, with one small bag of lime. And the reason why you can get that many eggs water glass over that small bag is because the ratio is 1 quart of water to 1 ounce by weight of lime, okay? And so I just take my little kitchen scale here, and you weigh out 1 ounce by weight of lime. So you have your quart of water, and I use tap water. We have well water. If you live in town where it's highly fluorinated and chlorinated, it is probably a good idea to use filtered water or even distilled water. But those of you with wells, you can just safely use your own tap water. So what I do is I just measure out my quart of water in my canning jar, and I add my 1 ounce by weight of pickling lime. And you can stir this if you want to in the container. Whoof, it poofs. You can stir this if you want in the container that you're going to store your eggs in, but I've just really found that shaking it is just as easy. Okay, so you're going to shake up your solution, and I shake it for a minute or so. You want it really, really well dissolved, and that is why it's so important to get the proper kind of lime, because the calcium hydroxide dissolves in water where the calcium carbonate does not dissolve in water, okay? So I'm just going to sit and shake up my brine really well for about a minute or so, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how I do it. Alright, so we're back. So I have mixed up my lime and water really, really well. I've been shaking it for about a minute, minute and a half. Like I said, you can stir it too. The next thing you're going to need is a container to store your eggs in. Now you can use any size container. You can use a 1/2 gallon or a 1 gallon, or glass or plastic. I even water glass in 5-gallon food grade buckets. That's my preferred method just because I can store so many eggs in at a time. I have noticed though, and I don't know if it's the lime or if it's our hard water from the well, but I have noticed that in glass containers, if I have eggs water glassed in them for a long time, it etches the inside of the glass and it kind of leaves the jar foggy, and I can't seem to remove that fogginess from the glass. And so I've stopped using glass containers. And like I said, I don't know if that's the lime or if it's just the calcium in our water, and after it sits for a year or whatever inside that jar, I don't know where the cloudiness comes from, but I have noticed that's happening. So I prefer to use plastic containers. And so you've mixed up your lime, and all you simply do is just pour your lime water into your container. And then I just take the clean, unwashed eggs. And one thing I did forget to tell you is that when you're inspecting your eggs, make sure you inspect for cracks, because sometimes eggs have little hairline cracks in them, and you don't want cracks in your eggs either. So make sure that they're absolutely perfect eggs. And then all you do is just gently set them into your lime water and fill your container up. This is how easy it is. Just keep filling and stacking those eggs on one another. Just gently setting them in there. Now I will have to continue filling this jar, and I'll make some more lime brine to add to it because you want all of your eggs submerged, but I'll fill this container completely up with eggs and the lime brine. And then you cap it and label it with the date. Always label your stuff when you're preserving food so that you know how long it's been on your shelf. Now, after a long period of storage as water glassing is concerned, after those eggs are in the lime water for a year, year and a half, the one thing that I've noticed that changes with the eggs is the yolks get weak. Okay, this does not affect the egg taste at all. They still taste extremely fresh and good. It doesn't affect anything when you're baking. You usually whip up your egg anyway before you put it into a cake or, make an omelet or whatever else. So I just want to show you what I mean by a weak yolk. Now this egg has come out of my stored container of water glassed eggs. You can see that with time, and you'll see it immediately, the lime kind of settles down to the bottom of the container, and it'll settle sometimes on your eggs also. But this egg is out of this container, which I water glassed these back in September of 2019. So we're way over a year here. We're at like, what, 19 months is that? And so I can pretty much guarantee you that the yolk on this egg is probably going to be what I call weak. When I crack open the egg and bust it, it will be weak and the yolk will kind of bust open and be a little bit runny. But again, I say it does not affect the taste of the egg at all. It's still fresh. It's still good. Now, another little trick that I want to show you is that when I'm taking them out of the brine, make sure that you wash this egg with clear water, because you don't want your lime brine dripping into your food or into the bowl that you're cracking your egg in. Again, that lime tastes horrible. What I do to check and make sure, just positively sure, that these eggs are still good is I do what is called a float test. Now, float test, you can do this on any egg. It doesn't even just have to be water glass. Any egg, you can do this. A fresh egg will sink to the bottom of a container of water. Okay, so that egg is still fresh and good, even though it's 19 months old. All right, it's still fresh and good. And I'll show you the difference. This one I know is a rotten egg, and it will float just like a bobber. How about that? So that's a method that I use to tell if my eggs are good. Good ones sink, bad ones float. Okay? And then when you're cracking your eggs open, of course, you always want to use your sense of sight and your sense of smell also. But I just want to show you how this yolk is probably going to be a weak yolk, because this is an egg that's getting close to being 2 years old after water glassing it. And so when you crack your egg, see? Weak yolk. That's what I mean by weak yolk. You don't have that solid yolk. And that is simply just because of how long you've stored it. Now this egg smells good. Yep, absolutely no odor to it at all. It's good to use. So I'll whip that up and fry it up in the pan, or use it in an omelet, or throw it into a cake and bake. I just personally, I think that this is one of the most unique and awesome ways of storing fresh eggs that I have ever learned in my life. And I've been doing this, like I said, now over 4 years, and I'm extremely happy with it. It's almost like a miracle. So you have your quart of water, you have 1 ounce by weight of lime, the proper type of lime, and mix that up. Put your fresh, unwashed, uncracked eggs into that brine, and you can store them on your shelf in a dark, coolish place for up to 2 years. So I hope that clears things up for you. I hope that it gives you inspiration to try it yourself. Thank you for joining me and spending time in my kitchen again. And I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Happy canning, everybody.